Hello again everybody and welcome back to my character Crusade Unbound Season 2 Let's Play featuring this handsome bastard, Alusell. Um, so last time, Alusell had a very strange experience with a recently re-dead Halldir, or his ghost's ghost, or something like that anyway. He's left confused about the situation. He doesn't really know how to process it. Um, he thinks there's a possibility that he could be going mad. He also thinks that there's a possibility that it was real, and that Halldir is either messing with him out of spite and revenge for destroying him, or Halldir was being genuine about the curse. And if he was genuine about it, was it, what was his motivation for sharing this curse with Alusell? Because by telling him his story, he is basically extending the curse to Alusell, and putting the ball in his court, so to speak, as to ridding both parties of said curse. I think Alusell is inclined to believe that this is something to take seriously and not to ignore, be it him going mad or some kind of real magical curse. Previously, he did talk to Venetia, I believe her name is, the innkeep at Dead Man's Drink, right behind him there. And he inquired as to where to learn more about magic, and she pointed him to the College of Winterhold. And at the time, he thought, okay, that would be a good destination. I would like to learn more about magic. It is a long ways away, so maybe we'll get there eventually. Now he's thinking that's probably the best place to go for knowledge on the subject and treatment for his madness, if that is in fact what he has. So that's going to be probably more of a priority at this point. Especially if this turns out to be real, that's probably where he's going to want to go for history and knowledge of the subject of Halldir, Vokun, Hevnarak, and the Dragon Cult, the Dragon Wars. He's going to try to educate himself as much as possible on all of these subjects so he has a better idea of what to do next. Trying to put myself into Alusell's headspace here based on his character, his backstory, his motivations. I really think he would try to gain as much knowledge as possible on the situation, and look at things in the most pragmatic, realistic, logical, and reasonable ways possible. That being said, he has no love for the Divines. Worshipping at a shrine or seeing a priest would be one course of action that he could take in curing his madness, if that in fact were what this was. But he doesn't like the idea of asking a divine to outright help him deal with his problems. He would rather do it on his own accord. Cure this himself the ways he knows how. He doesn't want to ask for help from a priest or much less a divine. At least if he went to the college, he could figure out how to cure this thing on his own, how to deal with this situation in the smartest way possible. He could gain information that would then become his own knowledge and his own ability to make his situation better. So we're going to be making our way up there. If on the way he happens to meet the wandering bard, I don't remember his name, it's Talskar or Talvar, he might point him toward the guards, or I'm sorry, the Bard's College in Solitude. If I've encountered him already, I haven't talked to him, so that isn't something that Alusell knows about. But while he's not one for the arts, he doesn't consider himself an artistic guy, he does appreciate the record keeping and the historical value of the stories that the Bard's College might offer. So he might find himself in Solitude doing Bard's College stuff in the near future. We shall see. Let's see, what other updates? Since he's been leveling up, he's at level 9 right now, almost level 10. I've actually gotten some pretty strong perks regarding flesh spells and this intangible, this distorted shape perk, which makes me ethereal until I perform an offensive action in a battle. And some nice block perks. I've actually upped my difficulty to expert. So that'll be something to keep in mind going forward. If you see me taking more of a beating than normal, that's probably why. But as I become more powerful, I really want to scale the difficulty along with that so that it's challenging. It's just more fun for me and probably more entertaining for people to watch. Also, on that same note, I think I'm going to be concentrating on the one-handed skill tree for at least a couple levels here. That will increase my damage output. And I think that's more important now that I'm running under expert. I'll be doing less damage just based on that difficulty level now, so I kind of want to equalize that with some damage perks going forward. Also, I don't think I mentioned this in the last episode, but I did encounter a traveling merchant who did have quite a bit of alteration spells for sale. And I took the opportunity to buy Okado's Recital and Stoneflesh and hook that Stoneflesh spell up to Okado's Recital. So every time I enter combat now, I will be gaining the Stoneflesh protection spell automatically. That will also kick in that distorted shape perk, making me invulnerable for 10 seconds or until I attack. I think that's it for now. I've also updated my favorites to Stone Flesh instead of Oak Flesh because now that I'm running Vancian Magic, Magicka costs on these spells don't really matter. So yeah, I think that's about it. Going forward, Alusell had a really kind of very interesting, to say the least, almost traumatic experience at Halldir's Cairn with Halldir's Ghost. I think he's going to want to blow off some steam, and this series could use a little more action in it as it stands, so he's going to do one of his favorite things, and he's going to go clear a bounty. He's going to go kill some bandits at this mine over here. Maybe he can use that to gather his thoughts a little bit. It's bright and early in the morning, 7:35 a.m. He slept at his camp in Halldir's Cairn, and he's eager to clear his mind a little bit. So let's go do that. Is Raya following? Yes, she is. So yeah, just as a recap of the events of the last few episodes, Alusell felt, okay, starting at the beginning, Alusell was curious about Halldir's cairn. He passed it on his way from Hammerfell into Falkreath, and was curious about it. He felt a sense of danger and foreboding coming from it. He decided to check it out and use that experience as his first test of himself, just to see where he stood, how strong he was, what kind of things he needed to work on, and where his opportunities were as far as personal progression. He ended up killing the ghost of Halldir, who seemed to be a powerful warrior from the ancient past. Probably a mage. He had a staff, a powerful staff that was left over in his tomb. And the fact that he was trying to resurrect himself indicated that he had some magical prowess as well. Hello.
I'm on a pilgrimage to the shrine of Azura, the goddess of twilight, if you'll excuse me.
Yeah, Alusell actually hopes to visit that shrine as well someday. He heard it was an impressive sight, and he wants to see what the Dark Elves were able to craft up there. So we might see that on the way to the college. But going back to Halldir, he found a journal there of the bandits that were lying around that little rock pile at the foot of that. I don't know what else to call it other than like an energy geyser, or this power, the Tower of Life Force, or Spire. I'm not sure what to call it. And the journal said that they started hearing voices, and that Halldir was basically possessing them, compelling them to plummet to their deaths at the end of that little well. And it seemed like Halldir was using their life force to try to resurrect himself. Now that seems like a pretty evil thing on the surface, especially when you consider that Halldir looks like a Draugr. It looks like the tomb that he was in was, it looked very similar to a dragon cult tomb. But when you really think about things, maybe Halldir isn't the evil entity we all thought. I mean, Alusell initiated combat. He started swinging first. So it's not immediately apparent whether or not Halldir was a threat. Alusell saw him as a threat. And certainly the Draugr leading up to that point were aggressive toward him. But he was entering a tomb that was not that he wasn't necessarily a caretaker of. He was a stranger there. Also, Halldir had not really done anything too evil up to that point. He killed some bandits, but we all kill bandits from now and then, from time to time. Alusell has definitely killed his fair share of bandits. They're generally very bad people, doing very bad things to the good people and innocent people of Skyrim. So, yeah, maybe Halldir's not such a bad guy after all. He may have been resurrecting himself in an effort to try to lift this curse on his own, but if we thwarted that, he might need our help. Trying to lift this curse that he's telling us about. I think this is very interesting to think about. I've cleared that dungeon dozens of times in the past. But I've never really quite thought of it this way, and that's kind of the magic of this Unbound project. We play the game, the same game we've been playing for, you know, almost 7 years now. But just a little piece of story that the Character Crusade guys have given us to add to our own story gets us to look at this very familiar situation in a brand new way, which I think is awesome. Again, if this sounds fun to you, and I hope that it does, because it is a lot of fun. Skyrim's one of my favorite games of all time. This community has helped me get so much more enjoyment out of an already amazing game, with new experiences, new people to share them with. So the links to the Discord channel and the Character Crusade website is in the description below. I encourage you to go check it out. Normally I would be taking the pelts from these wolves, but that's just not something Alusell would do. He doesn't like dirty work. He doesn't like getting his hands dirty, bloody. So you're not going to see him mining a lot of ore. You're not going to see him skinning a lot of pelts off of dead animals, even though they would help. They would help him progress his smithing skill, which is really important to him. Okay, we're getting close. We just got to follow this path around to the right. Keep straight at the fork. Okay, I see a fork I didn't see on the map. I just want to make sure. Alright, good. Looks like Alusell's getting a little thirsty, so we're gonna hydrate. And usually if I'm getting thirsty, it means he's getting a little hungry as well, so we'll have some stew and an apple. Oh, is he still hungry, or was he never hungry in the first place? There we go. So yeah, now that we're thinking of this all in this new light, maybe Alusell is leaning toward the possibility that Halldir is an honest individual, and everything that he told him is true. And that since we thwarted Halldir's resurrection efforts, which... Okay, I think we're probably picking up bandits from this mine that we're trying to clear. Since we thwarted his efforts, Halldir had no choice but to kind of compel us to go back to the cairn for a meeting with him. Halldir probably also saw a potential in Alusell. Finding him inexperienced but strong enough to beat a seasoned, ancient, legendary warrior slash mage. That maybe this guy is capable. Maybe he can do something about this curse that has plagued him for ages. Oh. That's a good example of both how these advancing kill moves are great and how they're kind of terrible, and probably why they were cut from the vanilla game in the first place. It was very cool, but he was kind of walking on air for a little while there. Right, all kinds of stuff to loot and sell later. Now that we have a porter, we can take all this stuff. We don't have to worry about encumbrance so much. Let's go see what those guys had on themselves. Yeah, so far, expert level seems pretty easy. Saw me get ganged up on by... that looked like 3 different guys. 3 different bandits all at once. And we took them down without too much problem. Let's see see what else this place has to offer before we head inside and take on the leader. So yeah, with the way this build is shaping up, and now that we have Raya here to kind of watch our backs a little bit, even though we're not happy about that, I may be moving up to Master sooner than I thought. Which would be cool. I think the harder difficulty levels in general are better play experience. They just add a little more tension to the gameplay and the experience as a whole. And I think the Ordinator perk overhaul is more balanced toward the higher levels anyway. A lot of those abilities and spells that are added by Apocalypse and Sacrosanct, the Vampire Overhaul, and a lot of the changes that Wildcat makes, they kind of become really overpowered pretty quickly at lower difficulty levels. Battles tend to be one-hitter quitter affairs, and you just don't get to combine the powers and really explore the systems in much of an interesting way at all, unless you're doing much less damage and taking a lot more at the same time. But that's my opinion. You can play however you would like. As long as you're having fun, you're doing it right. Okay. And I don't really remember what's waiting for us in here. If we have to fight a bandit chief along with a couple of his minions all at once, we may be in for quite a fight here. If it's just him... Ooh. Oh, Alusell is not happy about that. Raya just saved his life. Alusell is so stubborn about his own personal potential and increasing his own personal strength that even something as heroic as Raya stepping in and saving his life there, he is resentful of, because he had to accept outside help. And Raya now is really confused, because she's getting the cold shoulder from Alusell right now. And it's not that Alusell is mad at her so much as he is mad at himself. So what kind of goodies we have in here? We must have lots of enchanted stuff that will sell for a good price. Raw beef. Beef is too heavy. The roasted goat is a little on the heavy side of what Alusell will eat. He tries to keep himself light. Another skill book. Alusell collects those because they represent to him an improvement in himself. He uses that knowledge. It becomes his. And it looks like that's all she wrote for this dungeon. So yeah, now we're going to go turn that in at Falkreath. And then from there we'll probably head up this way through Riverwood, maybe stop at Whiterun before heading to Windhelm, and then ultimately the College of Winterhold. So we'll see if we can get admitted there, see what kind of knowledge we can obtain about anything from our current situation. So yeah, head back to Nenya and get our bounty and prepare for the journey ahead. I'm trying to keep these videos a little shorter. When I'm playing, it's hard for me to speak in a natural tempo, so I end up being very slow and kind of fragmented with my speech, which I think leads to longer videos. So I'm trying to keep these a little shorter. probably under 30 minutes. So I think that gives us just enough time to head back to Falkreath. And I'll cut the video there. Please bear with me, I'm getting better. It just seems like a brand new skill, talking and playing at the same time. I also like using these candlelight spells a lot more than torches. I think it fits this character concept a lot more. A little more mystic, at least on the surface. Am I going the right way? Definitely. Okay. So yeah, I guess we can take this opportunity to talk a little more about these positive and negative value pairs that are supposed to be a focus of our play up until the next Unbound podcast. So, Alusell started this day in a pretty negative place. He's either crazy, that's a hunter. He's either crazy or he's cursed. And compounding to that is he just doesn't know what's going on. So, ignorance, curse, or sickness, he's in a pretty bad spot. He, oh, what do we got here? Are these bandits? Or is that a thief?
Alright, hand over your valuables, or I will gut you like a fish.
You, sir, are welcome to try. I am always down for some practice. I could have taken care of that on my own, Raya. But I will take your stuff so I can sell it and make money. Let's get some healing there. That's one issue I'm having with this build. Blocking is very important to Alusell, and I have a bad habit of leaving spells in my left hand here. I gotta get into the habit of unequipping that spell as soon as I'm done using it. You always gotta be careful right around here because these traps always reset themselves. Here we go. Actually, Alusell would not be above checking out this scene for potential valuables, and we got a skill book out of it. Doesn't look like there's much else of value here. You know, I wonder what happened here. Obviously, this little merchant cart ran into some traps here, but who set these traps? Maybe the Forsworn? I know there's Forsworn up in that fort over there, but with the immersive patrols I have right now, I think that gets taken over by either Stormcloaks or Imperials right away. So yeah, back to the positive negative value pairs. He was in a pretty bad spot to start up with. Getting his daily exercise and his daily practice, fighting these bandits, definitely put him in a better state of mind. Better than he was. So it's inching back up toward the positive side. His mood is lifting a little bit. Feeling a little better. And then he almost got destroyed by that bandit chief before Raya stepped in and saved his life. So he sees that as a failure. That left a bad taste in his mouth. And he's kind of resenting his travel companion for saving his life, as funny as that is to say, at the same time. So he's skewing back negative. He's feeling a little better, a little more on the positive side, just having gotten some exercise and some fresh air, and the fact that we're looking at the sun for the first time in a few days. Looks like that fog is finally cleared up. There's no rain. Of course, now that I said that, we're probably gonna get a storm any second now. So that skewed back a little negative there, but he's still doing a little better than he was at the beginning of the day. He was able to clear his bounty. He was able to kill all those bandits and be pretty effective as a fighter, with or without a curse. He's not felt any ill effects of a curse, except just for being miserable about it, up to this point anyway, so it's feeling like at least he can move on with his life a little bit. But this is still something he has to address. This was more than a daydream. It was more than a hallucination. It was more than any kind of dream. But the fact that Raya didn't see it, the whole encounter with Halldir's recently re-dead ghost, means that there's something going on with him that is not right, is not as it should be. So let's see, we encountered a thief, we encountered Maik, and Faldris, who was on his way to the Shrine of Azura, but still no Talvar. I can't remember his name. I'm kind of ashamed at that. But the Wandering Bard, looking for his own stories. Is this a mercenary?
What's a milk drinker like you doing out here? Go home to your mother.
More practice, huh? Shouldn't talk to me
Why?
like that.
What are you gonna do? Cry? I don't have to take that from you.
Well, that was a cool trick. I don't know what happened there. I'm gonna say that's an effect of my inexperience with this alteration flesh spell. Doing some wacky things with gravity under this poor Nord here. Just take it all. Give it to Raya.
Yes, my Thane.
Yeah, so Alusell doesn't really pick fights, but
Fine. What?
if someone is offering up free practice,
Yes, my Thane.
he's gonna take it. Oops.
That it?
I meant to trade something with her, not have her do things.
Of course, Thane. How can I be of service?
You can hold all my stuff until I have a chance to sell it. I would still like to see if this woodcutter's axe allows her to chop wood for me, and if it'll show up on her backpack from the Frostfall mod. That would be pretty cool, I think. Oh man. I don't want her to actually use any of this stuff. I'm gonna have to enable equipment management
Lead on then.
in AFT, I think. That'll give a separate backpack option that she can't use. It's just storage only. Yeah, Alusell doesn't go around picking fights. He's not belligerent, but he's not going to turn down a free sparring session that will only make him better. So if someone comes at him with the wrong attitude, he's not going to back down. He'll play it out. And it looks like we got another level. But I'm going over my time a little bit, so maybe we'll take care of the leveling at the beginning of the next episode. Oh, that's the wrong way. That's up toward the site of our clandestine meeting with the dead Halldir. The dead undead. I don't know. There's probably some weird Japanese word for an undead who was killed and then came back to life as an undead. But I don't know what it is. Okay, here we are, back in Falkreath. So yeah, we got a lot of loot to sell. We got to collect our bounty, but that's all pretty boring stuff. I think we've gotten enough out of this episode, so I will bid all of you farewell until next time. Take it easy.